Computer. Hello out there in podcast land. This is Joan Kaler coming to you from, well, physically southwestern Pennsylvania, but through Zoom as well. So, welcome in, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You are going to enjoy, as I hope you do, all of my podcast. You are going to enjoy this podcast today. Bruce Whittemore is my guest, and I am going to pull up his bio so you can listen to all his fantastic accomplishments here. Bruce Whittemore is a holistic recovery coach, advanced certified EFT, emotional freedom techniques practitioner, and experienced in matrix reimprinting and parts work. He helps people in recovery transform limiting beliefs and repetitive compulsive behaviors by creating a safe, grounded space to explore what lies beneath. His work is rooted in the principles of self-awareness, embodiment, curiosity, and compassion, guiding clients toward peace, resilience, and fulfillment. With over 30 years in active recovery, Bruce draws deeply from his own life experience, reframing addiction not as a disease, okay, folks, not as a disease, but as an adaptive survival strategy born from pain and disconnection. Definitely, Bruce has nailed that one. His approach invites individuals to see recovery not only as returning to who they were, but as a path of integration, healing, and growth. Bruce also works with men around relationship, sexuality, and emotional connection, helping them live wholehearted, embodied lives. So I hope there's a gentleman out there listening to this, or ladies, your favorite gentleman, have them listen to this. Suggest it, don't force it, but this is so cool. In addition to coaching, Bruce is a passionate speaker. His talk, Addiction to Adaptation, the practice of reframing recovery, challenges outdated models of addiction and introduces a compassionate, neuroscience-informed lens rooted in internal family systems and somatic tools like EFT. Bruce holds an MBA and brings more than 3 decades of business leadership experience, blending practical insight with emotional depth and spiritual presence. I, of course, will have all Bruce's information in the podcast link and on the YouTube link. So when anybody that wants to contact Bruce, it will be there. His website is artichokedove.com. Isn't that cool? So without without me talking anymore, um, here we go. I'm going to get back to my Zoom here. Welcome in, Bruce. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Joan. I'm honored to be here with you, and it's a pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, are
Really
you?
appreciate the introduction as well.
You bet. My pleasure. So I asked you to come up with 3 things that you wanted the world to know about emotional freedom techniques or recovery or whatever you want the world to know, because I think you are fascinating. One that you sent me was EFT creates immediate emotional relief. Talk to our audience about that. I know why it does, but I'd like them to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've done all the modalities that are out there. I was introduced to tapping years ago by my sister. Um, and what I found was that just the physical tapping sensation really helps to calm our system, as you know, working with clients. And then as I saw the radical transformation when clients start getting into their body and allowing their body to just soften, that things start to shift. And tapping, I see tapping at a couple of different levels. I see tapping as a regulating, almost like an emotional aspirin, if you will, right? As we know, really helps to, in the moment, help with any, emotional discomfort, physical discomfort, really to help calm the system down. That's like what I see as the first level of being able to tap, and it's so available to anybody. I mean, we have it in the palm of our hands, right? Right
Like,
here.
uh-huh.
It's a beautiful modality. And then as we get into EFT, I see the different levels where there is the ability to do emotional freedom techniques for yourself individually when taught by a practitioner that knows what they're doing, right?
Mhm.
And then the next two levels I see as like working with a practitioner and then on belief systems and fears and phobias. And then kind of the what I call the red level, which is working with trauma, right? So I see four levels to tapping. I see like this regulation, which I call the green level. Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that stoplight thing. Anybody can do it anywhere, anytime to just help their body to regulate. The next level is to work on simple things for themselves around fear, which is the yellow level. And then I see the orange level as EFT practitioner guided on beliefs. And then the red level, more like trauma, that you don't want to go there yourself, but you definitely need somebody who's trauma informed and can work with you at that level.
Oh,
It's an amazing modality from my standpoint. I've nothing that I feel is safer. And that's why my practice is called the safe recovery practice, because it's all about feeling safe. And when our body feels safe, right, we're not in, as we know, that fight, flight, freeze mode. I've got a lot of other F's that go with that, by the way, that I've come up with over time. Um, I know fawning is one of them, but we don't go into that place where we become disassociated or distracted from those feelings, and then we can work with them. So I think it's such a safe modality that we can bring anywhere.
isn't that beautiful? I so agree. And that's so cool how you show those layers, the green and then the I'm
Yellow,
yellow.
orange, and red. Yep.
Okay, green, yellow, orange, and red.
Yeah. And
Beautiful.
anything green or yellow, I would say, is can be self-directed by the individual on their own. And I teach my clients how to do that while they're, not in a session with me, that they can bring anywhere. And then anything that's orange or red would need a practitioner to work with to help guide them. And it's always self-guided. It's a beautiful practice.
Let's talk a little bit about how to find a practitioner because the one thing I've run into, I am an advanced practitioner as well through EFT International and a trainer. And I find that whether someone is a coach or a licensed therapist, they think they know EFT tapping, but they don't know what they don't know. As my friend Monica Owens stated. Without proper training, because you do not learn clinical emotional freedom techniques in one weekend.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
need to take, yeah, trainings.
Yeah. I,
We took
it's
ours
such a
from EFT International, but yeah.
it's such a great point because I when I work with clients at first, I let them know like there's a lot of stuff out on the internet, as we know, right? That is going to give you false information or part of information, and it's really important to go to an organization like EFT International, which is to me one of the best and the largest out there. There's other ones as well, to get really uh, well-trained practitioners,
Yes.
from basic level practitioners to advanced trainers to trainers like yourself. And also, I feel like it's really important because when we use EFT or tap, even tap, that because it brings down and it brings down that level of protection that we have around us. I call them parts that kind of protect us, right? They're
Yes.
kind of the IFS model. And when those parts kind of fall away, it can bring up things that can be more distressing. Like a lot of times we find that people that we work with at first, sometimes the level of stress can go up, but then we know if we keep tapping, it comes down, right?
Yes.
As we keep tapping and that's what I always tell my keep tapping. So what I think is important too is that they find a trauma-informed practitioner as well, because
Thank
I
you.
don't care who you are. There's always something underneath that is driving or directing that behavior
Mhm.
or that substance abuse or that distraction, whatever it might be.
Right. Yes, trauma informed. So, ladies and gentlemen, I get a lot of people that know about EMDR, both clients and practitioners and therapists. I say combine both EMDR and clinical EFT. Then you've got a system that can take a hot knife, I mean, a knife through butter, bam, or whatever you're trying to disassemble. Not just EMDR, not just EFT, but combine them. I'm not trained in EMDR. I never felt a calling to study it, but more people know about EMDR than EFT. And it's not an either or, ladies and gentlemen. It's both of them together form a team. And that's what I want the world to know about that. You said that so beautifully, Bruce. Yeah, to find a licensed therapist or a health coach that not just calls himself a health coach, but has taken training on being a health coach. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been a 10-year, well, I should say it's been a 30-year path for me from having both a traditional business background and also being in recovery and working not only on my own recovery, and I could tell you plenty of stories about that, which we don't have time in this or multiple podcasts, but walking that pathway, but also having a traditional business background kind of gives me, a bridge, right, to those worlds. So I can see and help especially men that struggle with getting into their bodies, which is what I love to help men because it's uncomfortable. We're not used to, getting embodied. We're used to using this, which is part of our body, but this is not what we know as practitioners drives our behavior. We know that it's a combination of our brain and our somatic system and how we basically take in the world, right?
Mhm.
As Stephen Porges would say, neuroception. Um, and yeah, it's important that we do both for sure.
Yeah. Beautiful. Let me ask you about the other thing that you brought up, which is really cool. Oh, I love this. It honors the wisdom behind the behavior. EFT doesn't treat addiction like a problem to be punished. It treats it like a signal to be listened to. Oh, folks, did you hear that? That is so cool. Bruce, expand on that.
Yeah, this is certainly a passionate part that I like to talk about. I grew up in the rooms of, I say emotionally grew up from the time I was 27 in the 12-step recovery rooms and they have changed my life. So I have nothing against them and they have made such a difference. But I've also found that there's areas for improvement, right? And that there can be a lot of shame-based, if you don't have time, they count days and it's all about abstinence. And, after 24 and a half years of abstinence and a lot of recovery that I did over the years,
Mhm.
I went out and had a drink, right? And when I said to myself, and I had mentored men, I had started groups of my own, and I said, I am not going to shame myself over this. I need to really look at this and reframe it. And that's how Safe Recovery was born,
Ooh,
because I see three legs of a stool, right? I see recovery, which is a long-term staying in recovery and working on yourself is really what is one of the most important things, right?
right,
And what we see is a lot of people that come into the rooms of 12-step programs. Very rarely do people stay abstinent from their behavior or their substance long term. It's uncommon that that happens, believe it or not. And yet, when people come back, they feel very ashamed that they went out and drank, drugged, acted out in their behaviors, whatever it is that the distraction was. And really I wanted to look at that and say, there's three legs to the stool. There's recovery that we need to be in always, regardless of whether I'm abstinent or not, right?
right.
Abstinence is really important. It helps, obviously, when you're abstinent, you can get into and allow for those parts of you to come forward that need healing, that need transformation, right? If I'm not abstinent, it makes it much harder to get connected to myself. And then the third leg of that stool, and people often say this, like, I'm sober. Well, being sober to me is something totally different than recovery and abstinence. You need recovery and you need abstinence in order to obtain this uh, what I call sobriety, or being sober or emotionally sober, which there's many characteristics to that. So those are the three legs of the stool. And the most important one, Joan, from my standpoint and from the philosophy that I have, is staying in recovery, no
Yes,
matter what,
yes.
right? And taking the shame out of the fact that maybe you picked up again, maybe you acted out again. And we all do it. We all do it on our phones on a daily basis, right? People are, addicted to distracting themselves on their phone. There's a whole spectrum out there. So taking the shame out of that is primary, and helping people feel safe in their recovery and not feel judged or shamed is so important.
Oh, I'm so glad you're talking about this. I work in the area of body focused repetitive behaviors like dermatillomania, trichotillomania. And I tell people, let's take the shame out of this. If you have a slip, don't get angry at yourself. Or if it's a parent or a spouse or partner, don't be angry with that person because this is really hard. And for Pete's sakes, don't say, well, just stop it. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that whatever you say is going to be helpful. You want to offer compassion and support and love, not judgment.
Yeah, exactly. It's so important. It's hard for people that, are looking at their loved ones that are suffering or have these behaviors to take um that that lens. It's really not easy,
Yes,
but we need to practice that. That's why I call safe recovery practice, because we need to see it as a smoke alarm, if you will, right? When that behavior comes up, that person's in pain, right?
yes,
And that's a solution for them to that pain. It's no different than
yes,
oxycodone, which we know has destroyed a lot of people's lives. But there's other, obviously, medications that, help people when it's an acute issue. We just see it differently because of the stigma and the way the culture looks at it. And what I'm trying to do in the safe recovery practice is normalize this. Like, exactly what you said. You know, it's really hard not to judge people in that space, but we need to kind of look at ourselves and our own distraction behaviors, even though they may not be to the height and the destruction of others. It's the same thing, right? And just that these folks have potentially had a lot more pain and trauma in their lives. And that's the solution to that. And we
Right.
can work with that. And there's always hope, right? My acronym for hope is honoring other possibilities to emerge. Right?
Oh, I'm writing that down.
And there really is with the combination of parts work, getting to know these parts that are more of a survival system, and EFT helping to regulate the body and the system, that this can change people's lives. You know, you mentioned, what do I love about EFT earlier too? It's great for cravings.
Yes, yes.
We know that.
Mhm.
Um, I just said tap, 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 tap. We'll
That's,
work on the rest of it, but when you're not with me, tap,
and I'll tell people if you can't figure out the words, don't get stuck in that. Just tap the
just
point.
tap.
Head, eyebrow, side of eye, undernose, chin, collarbone, side of body. Just do those points and see what happens. Every time
Yeah.
my boyfriend are out, he'll go. Sometimes if we're out for dinner, he'll say, "Oh, let's go for some ice cream." And I'll go, "Okay, if you want ice cream, you go ahead." I'm having a blood draw this Monday, and I better be good.
That's one of my downfalls too. We don't eat. I very rarely do I have ice cream. I sneak out on my own once in a while and have an ice cream. But tapping before and to get over that craving. Like you just mentioned ice cream, I could feel my uh, coming up.
Oh,
Like,
I used to love that, but
oh yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, it's the same thing. Ice cream, food,
those
sex,
decks.
alcohol, drug. It's a craving that we know it's a signal that's sent well before potentially that we know it hits the brain. Like before we're cognitively aware of it, we know
Yes.
that signal's sent. It's a matter of being aware of our environment as well and what those signals that may make us feel unsafe create that trigger, right, in us that then creates the chemical cocktail inside of us wanting and craving whatever it is that we are adapted to, right? We go to what we're adapted to. We go to what's easiest or what we're used to from the time we are little babies. I mean, sugar was probably the first addiction of all of us, of everyone,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Certainly for me.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it
wow.
is for many people today. Our food system preys on that, unfortunately.
I know I try and be good. Fruit, yes, but oh my goodness, I try and cook from scratch, eat healthy. I'll do the best I can with that.
Yeah, it's all
Oh,
we can do.
I,
And there's no shame in it. It's just like just being aware. So part of my practice is awareness, embodiment, like where are you feeling it in your body? Curiosity, getting curious about it, and then compassion, most importantly for yourself, right? So I call them the ABCs, right? Keep it simple. ABCs: awareness, embodiment for body, curiosity, and compassion. And those four things combined allow us to transform what our body has adapted to, or how our body has adapted. And it becomes maladaptive, as we know, right? It becomes a maladaptation or a bad adaptation.
so
And that can change.
I want to talk to anyone that has anything to do with a rehab center. Call Bruce, okay? If you're in the Pittsburgh area, call me. But Bruce walks the walk. He doesn't just talk the talk. Call Bruce if you want somebody to come in and teach you all. I know officially you're not a trainer yet, however, or either one that has
I
experience.
can do talks and also talk about the philosophy of I do a talk called Addiction to Adaptation, as you mentioned earlier, that lays out the philosophy of safe recovery. Um, I'll tell you a quick story. I never wanted necessarily to go into this field as a EFT practitioner of addiction.
Mhm.
And 6 years ago, in the middle of the night, I got this download of like, this is what you need to go into, whether you like it or not. And I woke up and I just started writing stuff out. And that started the process of creating this practice, which I'm looking to expand. I want to have meetings. I want to create meetings, tapping circles, that are an alternative to traditional 12-step meetings. We need community as well.
Yes.
And my goal is to create community around tapping, around the philosophy of safe recovery. So as you can tell, I have a much bigger vision of this. I just have to find the resources and make that happen.
So exciting what you're talking about. It's going to help
Yeah.
so many people. You're already helping so many people change their lives. The one message that comes over and over in my mind is we're both taking the shame out of recovery.
Yep.
Whatever the, how do I want to put that? How you said it. Whatever the adaptation is, whatever you're using, taking shame out of it so you're not mad at yourself because this isn't easy. I've been
Yeah.
let's see, since 1986, so I've been in recovery from hair pulling since 1989. That's when I started my journey in finding out why I did that behavior. Everybody says, Joan, how did you stop pulling? I said, there is no simple answer. I found my way, but it might not necessarily be your way. But I'm happy to help you find your path to recovery. And it's not just about habit reversal technique, with all due respect to the other therapists out there. That's not the only game in town because what do you do with the feelings? When somebody is struggling to relax, struggling to let go of that urge that is so strong, that's the addiction part. And you've got to deal with that. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox here. It's just clinicians don't understand how that all works.
Yeah, we need to work with the neuroscience. We need to work with the biology of what's happening.
Happening.
We need
Yes,
to understand the energy of what's happening, right? And we
right.
need to understand the emotional component of what's happening, and the somatics of it. So all of those things come together when we use EFT, when we use parts work as the foundation of the practice, because understanding why our body has adapted, it's all about survival from the time we are conceived in the womb. It's all about survival. And so our body creates these adaptations. That's why my website, one of my websites is called Artichoke Dove, right? It's like we've created these protective systems, these parts of us around us, the artichoke, like the leaves on an artichoke, and we've hidden our heart inside, right? And we need to peel away those petals, right? And as we peel more away, we get softer and things soften. And then the choke, which is the original trauma inside, to scoop that out to get to the heart.
Mm.
That's why artichoke dove, obviously, peace when we do that. So that's where that came up with the name of artichoke dove. It's like, what is artichoke dove? What is that?
Bruce, you're so wise for one so young.
Thank you. I'm not as young as you think, but thank you.
Well, I'm 150 years old, so I guarantee you you're younger than me. What fabulous information and philosophy. you have about recovery and helping people. Just
Thank you.
amazing. And I know that as we speak and record this, you are helping a lot of people right now. And
I
that's why
hope
I
so.
do this, ladies and gentlemen, so you can get information from the experts as well as learning how emotional freedom techniques and other somatic modalities can be helpful to you. So, Bruce's information, artichokedove.com.
Artichokedove, that comes right on here. Also, the practice, you can find it at the saferecoverypractice.com. So
Okay,
the saferecoverypractice.com. And that is the practice. My coaching practice is artichokedove.com.
beautiful. And I, of course, licensed here in Pennsylvania. I take some insurance, most insurance. Call me, Joan at joankaler.com. And I love, love, love doing trainings for agencies, hospitals, individual trainings. Contact me. My next training is actually going to be October 17, 18, and 19 for level 1 and 2. Early bird rate ends July 31st, so save some money. Okay, there's my commercial. Shameless. But Bruce, thank you so much for being on my podcast today.
Thank you, Joan, and thank you for the work you do in the world as well. And I appreciate your time today and everyone that's listening. So,
You. Namaste to you and namaste to everyone who's listening and watching. Until next time, bye everyone.